Welcome once again to this weekly Wednesday from Gentian. I'm a little bit sad to announce that this will be our last one, as like John Krasinski, I've sold the program to CBS Online. So we've got a lot of things to do here. We figured there'd be something just more important for us to spend our time on, and we said we'd do this while it was like this, so we thought we'd sell it and monetize it. Just kidding. I thought that was interesting, but John Krasinski did sell some Good News Network. Kind of an interesting thing is we always go big. So sharing a go big and maybe take a few moments to do it yourself, write it. We won't take time now. I have a lot to unpack. But what's interesting for me is I want to say that I'm grateful for the rotation of the earth. It really makes my day. When you can combine a dad joke and gratitude, I think there's some magic that comes with it as well. A couple things too is rumor had it that Gentian was actually going to get into the diaper business until we found out that the market was saturated. It's kind of funny because when we do this, I can't tell if anybody's laughing. I can hear these guys laughing. I know it's funny. I know for sure it's funny. And I can sometimes hear a few of you laughing at home. But at any rate. Also, I'm not sure if you've heard, we got a few clients that are from Florida, and they're telling us there's a new rare kind of chameleon that's down in Florida just taking over. Apparently, it can't change its colors. Yeah, apparently it has reptile dysfunction. I thought you guys would appreciate that. And a lot of you I know are in the construction business. So with a lot of that going on and kind of the height of construction season, I want to tell you a joke about the construction business. I'm working on it. Love it. Right. So those are the dad jokes. So really as we come into this, so this week has been a master class in mastering. In the last 2 days I've spent online virtually with a group called Bullseye. It had entrepreneurs from all over the world. It had Jay Abraham. Jay Abraham charges $135,000 a day for consulting. He's helped the likes of Tony Robbins, if you've ever heard of Tony. All the big people out there. He's been in the business for about 50 years, one of the top marketers. Dr. Jeff Spencer, who's helped people, I don't know if you've heard of Lance Armstrong and Tiger Woods. We had great direct conversations with them. Ben Hardy, who wrote the book Willpower Doesn't Work, phenomenal book. He's got 2 more great books coming out as well. There's about 3 of them out there from him. So we have a ton of unpacking to still do on this. So it's all very useful, but we'll hit a few points on that today, but there may be me dominating some of the conversation because there's so many things to go through here. But I just want to announce that we have a new team member. For many of you who haven't seen him before, we have Zach. Zach DeBoer. He's been in the industry for quite a while. Actually been at Gentian for many years, but actually been away when we've been in the quarantine. But it's nice to have Zach back. One of our first steps in re-onboarding all of us is bringing Zach back and then quarantining him in the corner for most of the day. So, but we're being safe about it. But it's good to have Zach back as well. So I just wanted to say that, and we appreciate that. It's great to have his smiling face and presence in the building, even if we're all 30 feet apart. So. Still, that's one of the things we have. Housekeeping for tomorrow. Tomorrow, on June 4th, we've been bringing to you some of the specials. We're going to have Dr. Jeff Gladden, which many of you have seen before, and it's about moving forward and past the COVID-19. So as the U.S. is kind of unmasking itself, what can we do to keep ourselves safe? So what we wanted to do is bring one of the top experts in the United States, probably even in the world about this, on cracking the code to staying safe as we are going back out. We're beginning to operate in public. What are your best steps? How can you operate with that? So please reach out, sign up for that as well. It doesn't have to just be you as well. This is one of those gifts we're giving to you and everybody you know. So if you have others who want to listen in, please feel free if you want to introduce them to some resource like this that might be helpful to your family or friends. So just in that case, this is a gift to you and your community that we know. So please register that. You can reach out to us and figure out how to do that as well. Part 2, we'll have a mental health piece as well, which is coming up. We're also, so that's all part of a series we'll have. We're going to combine with a couple other practices from around the nation to bring you some of the best resources, so we'll be introducing you to some of them as well. Please keep an eye out for the questionnaires that are coming in waves. It's great when we're getting those back. We read them, and then we laugh. I'm joking, we don't. We read them because there's some very interesting pieces about who you are, and it really helps to get to know you better. And no, we did not start an online dating service. One of my clients said that, and I thought it was quite funny. Hey, when did you start a dating service? I said, well, what are you talking about? Well, these questions you're asking, what are you trying to do, match me up with somebody? So I thought that was funny. No, it's really just to get to know you better for those who want to participate as well. It's for internal purposes only. It goes nowhere. It's for customization, referrals, gifts, events, preparation, and interest. So a lot of that is the purpose of it. We just put a few other questions in there as well. Also remember, beginning June 10th, that's in about a week, you're going to start getting big pieces of mail that give you a ton of data on regulation BI. I told you there's a lot of regulatory things going on right now, and this is one of them. You're going to get a bunch of packets about Reg BI, a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't pertain to you, some of the stuff that does. So when you get that, if you have questions, let us know, but I just want to make sure you know that's coming to you. A lot of this is what we've been disclosing to you and the process we've been using since the beginning with you as well. So just as an FYI, this is formal legalese way of saying what we've been doing, but it's some updated and some important pieces you'll have coming. So that's the piece that I have. Anything to add, Ken? Start off?
Just want to say, we were talking about gratefulness.
Gratitude, yeah.
Gratitude for, my wife gave me a haircut last night, so if you like it, my name is Ken. If you don't like it, my name is Zach today. Also, I know we're a community-based family here, and we love our clients. There's some peaceful protesting going on. There's some police protecting right now the communities as well. We've heard a few stories from our clients who actually are on the front lines, being police officers, being retired police officers. We've heard some of those stories, so just want to say thank you for all, and for whatever you're doing for the communities. Thank you for what you're doing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Kim. I think it's important as well. Zach, anything to start?
Besides the fact that I'll just be sitting here smiling the entire time because of how grateful I am to be back. If you could rewind the security footage from about 6:30 a.m. on Monday, my first day back, I'm not much of a dancer or singer, but I think I was rocking a happy dance all the way from my car all the way to the building. So I think it might be kind of sad to say, but I think Monday was one of the best days of my life coming back. So extremely grateful to be here, and also thankful for technology over the last 2 months or so that we could still run business as usual, still talk to you guys as clients, and you guys have been fantastic and responsive with the changes with the Zoom and phone calls instead of reviews, and just grateful to be back.
That's awesome. One of the things, too, Zach mentioned is adaptability. There's two things. I think he was dancing like David from the Bible, just crazy and all, so we had to probably tone that down. We won't show the security footage. It's a little odd. But I think number two is the adaptability that we've all had here. So number one, I've realized this. Taking care of this team, so us together taking care of each other, is number one. Because if we're taken care of, we can then take care of you in the very best way. So that's one of the pieces with the adaptability the team has been phenomenal with. So I just want to give them credit and a congratulations and my gratitude for this time frame that we've been in, this rapid correction and bear market and rapid recovery so far. One thing I want to tell you, and this is a bit interesting for you, right now, presently, this is the most stable the world will be ever on an ongoing basis. Think about that. This is the most stable the world will ever be on an ongoing basis going forward. Why is that? This unbelievable week of COVID-19, protests, civil unrest, you've seen it all, right? And I know there's a lot of things boiling to the top when this stuff happens. So what's interesting about this is General George Casey brought us the word VUCA, volatile, uncertain, changing, ambiguous. And what's really interesting is if you go back 100 years, you can give evidence of this. It's hard to tell in the future, but go back 100 years. And 100 years ago, you bought fuel for your car at the drugstore. The average age was 47. 100 years ago, we had a pandemic. Oh my gosh, that's right. It was 51 was the average lifespan, by the way, in 1917. By 1918, it was 47. The whole world's lifespan dropped 4 years simply because of, at that time, the COVID, which was H1N1, or the flu, which we live with today. Interesting perspective. You also, 90% of doctors had no degree. Ray Kurzweil said, in the next 100 years, we're going to see 80,000 times increase on a go-forward basis. Now, put this in perspective right now. Moore's Law, every 18 months, technology speed doubles, right? Right now, in medical science, it's doubling every 8 months. Think about this. The entire vast database of knowledge, every 8 months, doubles in medical science. What will they be able to cure? The question they're asking is, what won't they be able to cure? We just have to live long enough to be there. Interesting to see, but this is the perspective of those going on now. I know I talk a lot about this in other programs, but I wanted to bring that up as well. Kind of heading into the mindsets and perspectives, I want to give you a point that I learned from a good friend yesterday. Right now, this is a lava moment. I want you to remember that. This is a lava moment. What does that mean? You're going to hear it from us. Right now, things are hot and fluid and erupting. You've seen it, like a volcano. What does lava do? It's hot, it destructs, it kills everything in its path, right? And that's the first stage of the eruption in the volcano. Now, what does it do eventually? Once it clears that path, well, it begins to cool. it begins to form new land. It's extremely fertile with all sorts of minerals and things that things need for growth. And once it cools, it creates new, rich, strong, fertile ground for new things to grow on and people to inhabit. So when you look at lava, it has two massive sides. Burning hot and cold, when it crystallizes, it comes back to this form that we all can use it in. So when I'm looking at a lava moment, we're in one right now. You can decide where we are in that, but you want to take a look at those stories sometimes and say, we are definitely in a lava moment now. Where will it end? Not sure how far we're going to create this new island in Hawaii, if you will, but I know that it will be created in many years, then people will fly to it and stay on beaches there and enjoy it. Anyway, so a couple of different ways to look at what's going on right now. A couple of stabilizers historically that we've looked at, and this has been something we've talked about. Historically, there's been three stabilizers in the world. We talked about politics, religion, family, and there's a new fourth one. So these stabilizers have historically been things that keep societies together. So religion, politics, family, and new entrepreneurial leadership. People who solve problems. That's a new one that's being out there. So looking at those four things as stabilizers, those have been and always have been, creating the wheel, creating the printing press, creating writing. These have all been things that have been pretty consistent over history. People can argue others, but I want to give you those four as well. One interesting piece as well we've been talking about here recently is right now, according to some new research, most people value their finances more than their health. It's a weird shift, but you'll find at times these things overlap and flip from each other. So I really want to make sure that people understand that as well. Now, the one thing we've talked about, I'm going to do this new equation, E plus R equals O. Okay? Write it down if you have your gratitude journal. E plus R equals O. The experience does not equal the outcome. E equals experience, R equals response, O equals the outcome. What's important to know right now is the experience is not going to be the outcome. It's how you respond to it. Talking COVID, talking markets, talking family, talking unrest, all of this, talking protest. This is all, how do we respond to this? We either add to the problem or we calm it and subtract from it. So it's not the experience that's the outcome, it's actually the experience plus your response. These are phenomenal teachable moments. You have been through many protests for wars and other things around. What is your chance now to teach your kids and grandkids about what occurs from these? Change happens from unrest. So again, I just wanted to throw that piece out there as well. A few things that we think may occur from this. We were talking about it, divorce may rise. The script inside of you may change, and it may change just temporarily, which is, oh my gosh, make sure you're careful about that script, the words you're telling yourself on a day-to-day basis. Remember, you can only control what you can control, and nothing more. Good friend of mine, Lee Brower, brought this up. Worrying only brings pain from potential future events into the now. Attempt to worry as little as you can, because if it's going to happen in the future, deal with it then. Don't bring the pain of that potential event to now to ruin your present. Anyway, that was a couple of different pieces that I wanted to touch base on that. Now, I'm going to have three very, very short sessions here, three very, very short pieces, then I'm going to get to markets with Ken. Anything you want to add, Ken, presently?
No, you're doing great.
Is that great? Cool. So a couple of things here. Dr. Jeff Spencer was on the call. You've heard again of Lance Armstrong, Tiger Woods. He helps Olympic-type athletes and others really achieve what they want to and need. What's extremely interesting with him is he's got a called a Champion Mindset Tool. So I think it's www.drjeffspencer.com if you want to find it. You can go and find that yourself. But there's a Champion Mindset Tool that's really interesting when you look at the cycle that goes with it. Probably the most important thing that we find is a lot of us have probably achieved some things on that cycle. But if you've never had a plan to do it, you're going to find that Olympic athletes or people who really achieve Herculean things have a slightly different path. And there's 3 or 4 steps that maybe we just never took to get to mastery or to get to that goal or that outcome. So here's one thing he says. Fear-based survival instinct is something we can't turn off. We all have it. He goes, if you put, they asked a great question on the program, and I think one of my friends asked it, and I followed up. If you put Tiger Woods, all these great athletes you put together, and Lance Armstrong and all, in a new thing like foiling or chess, who would win? Who would you put your money on if you're in Las Vegas and bet? And he goes, I wouldn't, because these people aren't going to lose. That's their mindset. So they're going to just plow over this, and they're going to win whatever it is. Give them a year to study, give them whatever. These people have the same mindset. It's going to be a draw. You're going to find that. I couldn't find one to be much stronger mentally than the other. They've all reached that place. An interesting piece is I learned from him as well. This is a good point. Ken and myself also talk a lot about this, is talk about things very early in the process. So for instance, prepare kids and grandkids for what is to come early. So when I walk out every day, I say to my girls, don't be average. A weird statement. So what would you do? I asked them this morning. What would you do? Don't be average. Don't do what everybody else does. Do something above it. Become extraordinary. They need to start to get these planted at a very early age for your children to excel. So this champion mindset isn't just for adults or for even your retirees or just for kids. It's for all of us. So it's an interesting point that I think he brought up as well, is to talk to this early. There's more detail we can get on this as well, but it was a phenomenal piece. Mindset is the key. Grit. You know all the different pieces that go with it. There's a big difference between a belief and a knowing. I believe I can do something. Great. With these athletes that are at the top, they know. It's a difference. So a big part about this too is we here may know what the markets will do. You may have a belief in what the markets may do. And the media has a wild guess on what they may do. And they're going to be all over the place. They're not about the knowing. Those are the sage people that we use, Warren Buffett and others that we quote as well. A nice thing as well, end your day with a list of 3 lists of 3. Think about that. 3 things you have done that you never have to touch again. Get them out of your mind. 3 things that you have to do, but you're lost. And 3 things that you have to do that you know how to do. And what that does is it sets your subconscious mind at night up for the next day to achieve these things. So something I wanted to give you as a piece, and it's a great piece, maybe we'll put a list in our gratitude journal of 3 things of 3 for you to be able to do at the beginning or end of a day if you'd like to. But it's a really, really beneficial piece. What he also said is that all of apprehension and anxiety consume a ton of energy. Clarity equals stillness. It equals confidence. So one thing he said is very, very important when you do that wavering. So I have a lot of times so many different thoughts. Sometimes I'm apprehensive, oh, what should I do? Or I'm anxious about, should I be doing this? Or I have a fear of missing out. That takes a ton of energy. Work as much as you can on clarity, because clarity will bring you that confidence, more energy. You won't be wasting the energy, mental energy, which you need to do other things. The last one as well. All of this is really a life of looking for significance. And what else are we all looking for? A life of significance. I don't want you to say you're the best doctor, you're the best hospital administrator, you're the best police officer, you're the best this or that. That may be your goal in life. That may be your life of significance. But what happens the day you step away from that if you retire from it? That's where you have to be careful that your identity is you and not the things you do. So make sure you look at that piece as well. This is one from Ben Hardy. Wrote a book called Willpower Doesn't Work. Great book. We can share that another time. It's on my list of books that's like 100, but I think we've got 20 on it now. But Ben Hardy said this, who is your hero? They asked a question to him. He says, well, my hero, and this is a great definition, is myself 10 years from now. That's an interesting way to look at it, because I'm not who I should be. I'm better than I was, but the decisions I have to make today are what gets me to where I want to be 10 years from now. So you can look at Michael Jordan and others. You may not have the genetics to be able to do that. You could have the mindset, but not the genetics. If I can't jump off the ground, I'm not Michael Jordan, right? So just as a sample, you look at those kind of things. But what's interesting about this is you can be the hero that you want to be. I want to be seen as, and the things you have to do today to get there will drive it. So very interesting piece as well. The one thing is this is a great point too, we are all works in progress at every age. Give yourself a little bit of give yourself a break. You don't have to be perfect. I mean, right now there's a lot of stuff you may say and do stupid stuff. That's okay. It's all progress. We're all a work in progress, even until 120. So make sure you understand that piece as well. So there's about 17 things I wanted to put in the first 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes. But I just wanted to run through those. I will give away to a little bit on markets, but for Ken and Zach now. But there's a couple of things here I think that they'd like to go through.
Yeah, the only thing I want to touch on before Zach jumps into some technical market stuff is for the last 3 or 4 weeks, we've been following value and growth. Those are 2 major cycles that we pay attention to greatly. And for the second week in a row, value has, during this recovery we've been seeing in the markets, value has really led the way. That's the second week in a row. Now, that's not a trend by any means. We're not jumping on that. But we are paying attention very, very closely to that because it is a major portion of how we invest money for you for your retirement needs and income for your scenario. So second week in a row, it's very interesting.
Thank you, Ken.
Yeah, thank you, Ken. That's exactly why we rebalance and why we continue to talk about it as well, continuing to buy low and sell high to take advantage of those. Just real quickly, just to go through, I know we have a lot to unpack here the rest of the session, but just wanted to give a brief market update on where the S&P 500 is, the Dow Jones Industrial Average, the NASDAQ. And two quick facts from a little report by MFS called By the Numbers. Since peaking on 2/19 of 2020, the S&P lost 33.8% over the next 23 trading days. That's the worst 23 trading period in the last 30 years. Now, who out there among us here at the table, experts out there, would have said that the following month, in April, would have been one of the best months ever since World War II? And according to this report, since bottoming on March 23rd, the S&P 500 gained 32.6% over the next 43 trading days through Friday of May 22nd. That's the second best 43-day trading period over the last 30 years, and exactly why we don't assume, try to forecast, or try to guess what's going to happen for you guys. And just real quickly, before we jump into some planning and a few more things that Chris has for us, as of market close on the end of May, just where the index are currently at and sitting for the year, not since market peak, just at the beginning of January 1st of 2020, the Dow Jones Industrial Average is down 11.06%. The S&P 500 is down 5.77%. And the one that takes everyone by surprise is that the NASDAQ is 5.76% positive. And that one's really interesting to note and to take a look at, and that's due to a lot of bigger companies that are trillion-dollar valued out there that have done fairly well through the quarantine and the pandemic, and also a lot of things that Chris has mentioned over the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years since he's been at Abundance 360. A lot of these technological advances haven't gone away. We haven't heard as much about them because there's a lot of other things on the news, but a lot of experts and things Chris has shared with us is that this might have accelerated technology 10 years ahead of where it was going to be and where it's going to be, and the adaptations that has made, and also things like 5G and artificial intelligence have been pretty massive during this time frame. So it's really interesting to observe, and those are my thoughts of the market and a few facts for you guys.
Yeah, absolutely. So a couple other things in the market I'll share just quick. High growth companies are scarce. That's why there's a few of them, you know their names typically. Stocks have been attractive, actually absolutely attractive when you look at them versus bond yields as well. As attractive as they've been since the 1950s, 40s, and 30s. It has not been this case because of how low rates are, a big one. I think goal-focused AI spending, 5G, huge idea, Zach mentioned as well. And Ken and I were talking about this. We're in a recession now. Interesting, the 1918 recession, COVID or H1N1 based, flu based, was 7 months long. So who knows how long this one will be, but there's a lot more optimism coming out now from some of the statistics we've been hearing lately from some of the top industry gurus out there. FundStat says stocks bottom before recession. We've talked about that before. Interesting. Net bond flows are still happening. In other words, people are still putting more money into bonds and stocks. There is a ton of cash, $4.3 trillion or more record cash on the sidelines. So there's a ton of dry powder if the market is to have some stock rebalancing, which it does over time. So you'll see there's dry powder as sentiment turns positive. Global and international is historically very cheap. A lot of people have been getting rid of it. Good. We've kept it. There's a chance we can benefit when the markets move up in those categories. Once people abandon a category, historically things are pretty good. Tech remains Tech remains also a fairly good value. Google Cloud, they believe over the next 3 years will actually begin to make some money. That's just a sample. That's one of the samples. Like the cloud-based services that are out there are really going to proliferate, and they find some of these driverless car companies as well could be $105 billion companies just in of themselves, which dwarfs the entire car industry right now, except for there's a company that makes electronic cars that's crazy right now. So people probably know what that one is. It rhymes with Esla. But here, so one thing I want to hop into planning. I know we got a lot to do in this, but planning is for us, and this is interesting. We've been working on multi-scenario planning. Best, worst, and in between. I mean, big scenarios on this. We've been really studying with some of the best minds around this and crystallizing a few optimizations of our planning. The good news is our planning is pretty solid compared to what they looked at and what we looked at, but a few words that increase your chances of success for you. Adaptability, dexterity, discipline, faith, patience, and nimblicity. I bring up that word because I make it up, but it's a great word, and it's like a word you can also work with. So how about Ken?
Yeah, on the planning side, a topic I absolutely love, and I love talking to you all about it, is some interesting planning ideas right now for you that are very prevalent of what we're seeing right now. So one is going to be interest rates and mortgages. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. The other one is that we see a lot of that. I see some mistakes that get made in this area. Some ideas that like, oh, I really didn't know that. So I want to bring that to your attention, and that's a passing of a spouse in the state of Wisconsin. Not a great topic to talk about, but a very critical one when it comes to the money aspect of things. So the first one is, during all this uncertainty, the one certain thing we know is that interest rates have gone down, mortgage rates have gone down. That I think everybody knows that right now. It's been talked about. So what can we do about that? What are some things that you could be considering right now if you have a mortgage, if you have other types of debt out there? When I look at the interest rates, if you will, at 5% on a 30-year mortgage is really the break-even point between paying the same amount of principal on your interest and paying principal on your loan versus interest. It's like you pay about the same, around 5% on a 30-year loan. Right now, rates are well below 5%. They're well below that. They're in the 2s in some cases for a 15-year. They're in the low 3s for 30-year conventional mortgages, jumbo rate mortgages. They're in the low 3s right now. Why is that important? Because someone's going to pay far less interest on that loan. They're going to pay far more principal on that loan over the next 30 years. That's why it's important. So financing right now is actually a great idea because rates are so low. It's good to finance things. It's not always great to pay cash for things right now. Financing is not a bad way to go. That's much different than we were taught back from our parents in the 80s and 90s. Cash was king. You pay for everything by cash, right? Things have changed. Interest rates were 7, 8, 9% during that time frame. Now they're 2 and 3, maybe even 4 on the high side right now for mortgages. If you have an adjustable rate mortgage, you're going to want to strongly consider getting out of that and looking at something as far as a fixed rate for the next 15, 20, 30 years, whatever your time frame is. If you have questions on this, call us. If you have other types of debt out there, cars, credit cards, things of that nature, you may want to consider bundling some of that into a second mortgage. So it's something that we can help you out with if you have questions on that. The second one is maybe not so fun, but I see a lot of curiosity on this one and a lot of, I didn't know that, is when a spouse passes away in Wisconsin, 2 things happen that we have to be aware of. There's something called the step-up in basis. So in English, what that means is, and this is for non-IRA accounts. This is not for annuities. This is not for IRAs. This is for personal accounts that you have investments in, possibly even like a trust account that many of you have funded over the years. So when a spouse passes away in Wisconsin, we get a step-up in basis. Make this very simple. If we paid $100 for a stock, and now it's worth $1,000. Well, at the time of that passing, the basis of $100 of what we paid for it gets stepped up to the fair market value, which is that $1,000. That's a quick example of that, but that's how that works. That's a big piece of planning that goes into this for non-IRA and non-annuity accounts. The other quick one here, and I'll pass it back over to Chris to finish up here, is when a spouse passes away, the next full year, we actually are in the single tax brackets rather than a married filing jointly status. That's a big difference because the ranges of income that you can have change dramatically from being a married couple in the state of Wisconsin or over the federal level as well versus being a single taxpayer. So those are some of the aha moments that I've seen some of you had over the last year or so. So I wanted to bring those to your attention as well.
And some of our clients lately who've been blessed with a lot of money or success from selling something or saving a lot of money, been having a question about really, I call it large Roth IRA conversions from their traditional IRA. If you have a lot of cash outside, might I take advantage today of what maybe are lower rates versus some future higher rates they believe by taking advantage of doing some Roth conversions today? It's something we've been doing with our clients for a long time, but something that some of the people with more money have recently been talking more about just to get rid of some of the burden. So we'll talk about those individually as well. I don't want to give you scenarios because there's too many and each one's individual, but that's something coming up too, Ken and I've seen and Zach in the last few months and weeks. So one thing I want to do as well, I'm considering changing retirement. I don't know if I want to call it retirement anymore. I think I want to call it rewirement. Why do I call it rewirement? Because it's a time with which you were driven by something, and retirement has a connotation of to go away. If you know the two terminology, it means to go away. To be, and that makes no sense. What happens for most of my successful retirees, which is many of you, is you rewire. You're no longer going into the office every day, but you have to rewire and figure out now what's my new normal. Just like with the economy, just like with COVID, just like with all that's going on, what's our new normal going to be like once the lava cools from the lava moments? So as we look at this, be careful not to place your identity in work or things you are leaving. Make sure your identity is very much who you are, and you don't place too much value in things that are fleeting. It's very, very healthy in leading a life of significance. So be the person you want to be all the time, not just in your work or not just in your home. Make sure you're there all the time. So retirement is rewirement. Maybe that's a new category. We'll see if Peter can actually buy the website. Retirement is rewirement, and see if we can get that one, and we'll move forward. But in closing, I know we've run a few minutes over. I could actually go another 20 or 30 minutes on it. I will spare you that piece. We'll do it at some other time. But one thing I want to do is there's another great one that Dr. Jeff Spencer brought up this. And let me bring this up to you. It's called a podium moment story. So what is the podium moment? A lot of us just get through life and happen to get through life with not a lot of planning and not a lot of processes. But I want to tell you, every decision, every day, everything you do in life is actually a process. So it's something you can make better or worse, or you can plan or not plan, right? But it's all a process of thinking. Am I going to eat now or later? Am I going to go to the bathroom now, or am I going to wait? Am I going to watch this or that? Those are all processes, right? But what's the podium moment story? He gave us this one, and it struck me. So he had a swimmer who was really, really phenomenal, had a chance of medaling in the Olympics. And what he did is one day for his practice, he walked in and said, we're going to go this way. He went into a conference room, and he's had it set up with cameras. He had it set up with a podium. He had him set up with a gold medal. And he had okay, so what I want you to do is, without any preparation, didn't tell him, walk in and accept your medal. So he walked in, oh, geez, hey, gosh, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is, it's a surprise. It's cool. I mean, this is neat. I won this. And he goes, so he comes back and goes, fail. And the swimmer's like, what? Fail. I want you to go up there and experience this moment as if it's already happened, so that when it happens in reality, it's not new to you. It's something you can be used to and expect. So the swimmer gets back up there, chest puffed up, prepared, ready, confident but not arrogant about it, gives a great talk, says, I've been preparing for this my whole life. I'm very fortunate to have won it against some great other athletes. Gives a great speech, comes back and steps down and is viewed completely different. You know what's just happened? This person has gone from believing, I believe I can do it, to knowing. That's one of the steps. So I don't care if you're 65, I don't care if you're 75, I don't care if you're 85. That hero you're looking for, which is yourself in 10 years, needs a podium moment of some form. Look at what that is for you. What is your podium moment? What might that be for you? You want to win a golf tournament, you want to catch fish, you want to raise your grandkids, you want to help with this, you want to do volunteering. Find your podium moment. It doesn't have to be fame. It could be being a humble servant behind the scenes. But the beautiful thing is you want to experience it before it becomes reality, because you'll be prepared and not surprised. So a lot of this is a very, very good piece. So I really enjoyed that one, and it made a big difference in a lot of athletes' lives. So that's one piece as well. Another one, a good friend of ours named Robin from New York. I just want to share one thing with him. So on the call yesterday, he shared with me his father passed away 2 weeks ago from COVID in the Dominican Republic, was very healthy, keeping all the protocols, went to a barbecue. Unfortunately, he was one who was at risk and didn't know it and passed away. Recently, I just saw his obituary yesterday. It came out in an industry journal about grocers in New Jersey. But what's interesting about this, while on the call yesterday, he just had found out, Robin did from his cousins, they own grocery stores in the New York area, and their family does. 3 of his cousins' stores had been broken into and been completely destroyed at that point in time, and they were marching toward Robin. So Robin was on the call doing this back and forth. So we sent prayers out to him. We just want to share, this is affecting everybody in different ways when you hear about different stories on this thing. So it was an interesting piece there, but I was really grateful that he shared that with myself and one other person in our breakout on a Zoom call. So there's just 3 of us in the room when he shared that, which was really awesome. So I want to make sure you understand, we do bring you a lot of other information, but we're serious about our guidance and we're committed to you. I want to make sure you understand that. Wealth management's what we do, but guiding you through adversity is who we are. We're there to be with you as people, help you live your most significant life. Thank you on behalf of Gentian. Until next week, stay safe, stay positive, and stay grateful. Thank you.